Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano, and the Schuylerville went to the favorite, Georgie's Angel, for Todd and Johnny by a length and a half over True Feelings in 1:10 3/5. First guest this morning, one of our favorites. He has been joining us for years and years, and that's because he continues to send out outstanding horse after outstanding horse. And later this afternoon, he will send out It's Tricky for the Coaching Club American Oaks here at Saratoga, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kairian McLaughlin. Kairian, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you. Yeah. Kairian, when you come into a meet like Saratoga, you've looked at the condition book, you know how your horses are doing. Do you have a pretty good feeling at the beginning of the meet how things are going to go?
You think you do until you enter up. You think you're entering up and you're going to be 2-1, and you show up and there's tough horses in there and you're 8-1. So yeah. There's no place like Saratoga. It's very competitive. Everybody wants to win here, and it's very difficult to win.
And I think yesterday's finale was a perfect example. A conditioned 25,000 claimer, which was the most difficult conditioned 25 claimer I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we dropped down from a greatest stake to an allowance race to that particular race and finished a good 4th. But we thought we were going to be 2-1 favorite, which we were not.
Well, this afternoon you will try to win what will hopefully be the first of several stakes at the meet with It's Tricky. Talk to our audience about this filly who maybe should have been named She's Tricky.
Yes, she's definitely tricky. She's difficult to train. She's difficult to work with. But as long as she's running well, we don't mind.
Be a little more specific with our. Why is she so difficult to train?
Well, she just spins around from the pony and takes off on her gallops. She's difficult to get in the stall with. She's difficult to work with. It's probably hormonal, being that she's a filly. But as long as she's running well, we're happy with her. This morning, we had a difficult time catching her. We said, well, at least we started trying at 5:15. We have plenty of hours to get her. But she's always just a little tricky to be around.
When we spoke about her earlier in the year, I seem to recall you saying to our audience that she really preferred the winter weather in New York to the heat and humidity of South Florida. What was that all about?
Well, she just, I think, did very well in the winter. Obviously, she was 3 for 3. She came to Florida and just did everything right. She wasn't being tricky, so we were a little concerned about her behavior. She did everything right, and she just didn't run as well. But I think on the day, Todd Pletcher's filly ran unbelievably well, and we were 4th. So we shipped her right back to New York with the same rider, groom. Art Magnuson had her. Leave her alone in New York, and she's trained very well since then and won the Acorn off of that, training in New York. So she's back to herself.
You mentioned one of your assistants, longtime assistant Artie Magnuson, who is a local fella from Clifton Park. How long's he been with you, and how important is he to your operation?
He's very important. He started with me in 1993 in Dubai. So 18 years we've been together, but we worked together before that at Wayne Lucas's. So he's like part of the family. He's a very important person. My brother Neil's here, Artie's at Belmont. We have a great team of people. Andrew St. Lawrence is at Monmouth. So we have a lot of important people. It's a team effort.
It has to be, doesn't
Yes.
it? All right, let's get back to It's Tricky. Let's take a look at her last start in the Acorn. She will be number 4 in here. Kairian, talk about this performance, if you would.
Well, it was wet, and that's what we were hoping for rain today, but it's not. It rained a little bit last night, but we wouldn't mind if a shower came through this afternoon. That's the only question mark. She loved the wet track. It's a 1-turn mile. Todd Pletcher's on the lead here. We're laying 2nd, but she ran an unbelievable race and ran huge, and we were hoping for something similar today, but it's hard to repeat those unbelievable races. She just loved it on this day and ran a huge race.
Because Turbulent Descent is a wonderful West Coast filly. And she's going to make a run at you. And, for a couple of jumps, it looked like you might be in a little trouble. and It's Tricky looked her in the eye and said, forget about it.
Yes, exactly. That's right. I thought the favorite, when she came up outside of us, I thought we were going to be in trouble, but Eddie always had horse left or filly left, and he looked over, and I felt pretty confident when he looked over coming up here, and he took off with, she took off with him, and was very impressive. So she's trained well since this time, and we hope for similar results today.
All right, now this is a 1-turn mile this afternoon. It's 9 furlongs going 2 turns. Talk about the differences, aside from the obvious, and what are your feelings about her getting 1 mile and an eighth in this kind of company?
Her second start was 2 turns. We didn't really want to do that, but the race didn't go short. We opted to go long. She's by mine shaft. We thought she always would want to go 2 turns. She won the allowance race. She came back to win the Busher, going 2 turns. We went to Florida, and we're just going to draw a line through Florida. Came back, and it was a 1-turn race, the Acorn. But we feel like that she can go 2 turns. She's proven that she's won twice at 2 turns. Being by mine shaft, the distance should not be a problem.
Will her effort this afternoon have a major part in determining where you send her for the rest of the year? Because the Alabama's next at 10 or the test at 7, that's a significant difference.
Yes, we'll hopefully keep going long. We feel like she wants to go long, and the Alabama would definitely be next if she would perform well today.
We're going to move on to another one of Kieran's stable stars, and I know this one's going to bring a smile to his face because he has liked this colt from day one, and that is Trap Shot. Talk about him, please.
He's a very professional racehorse, does everything right. He's easy to train. He's had 2 vacations. We gave him time off twice because we liked him so much. Steve Young bought him for $850,000 for Millhouse in the Timonium 2-year-old training cell, and he was favored for the Travers last year and didn't run well, but we're back short, running him short now, and he's going to run in the Vanderbilt August 7th.
As a 3-year-old, let's face it, the prestigious races are at classic distances. In your heart, because last year you ran him in a combination of sprints and middle distance and route races, in your heart, did you always feel he was better as a sprinter?
No, not really. He's bred to get further, and we felt like he could get further. He won at Monmouth in the Long Branch. He was second in the Haskell. It might have been more about the timing of the races back in 3 weeks and 30 days. And 30 days, they're not machines, and it's tough to run them every 3 or 4 weeks. So I think that was more of an issue than the distance. And then we brought him back this year, and we've kept him short so far, but it's not to say that he won't show up in a mile sometime.
Well, we are about to take a look at his last race, maybe the finest of his career. This is the True North, again, on a sealed, sloppy track. He is number 3 in here. This was monstrous.
Yes, it was. Obviously his best race of his life. Very impressive. And he broke well. He's often stumbled breaking and not broke real cleanly. So he broke very well today on this day. And he sat a beautiful trip. And when he asked him at the top of the lane, he took off to win by 8 lengths in sprinting. At this distance, it's unbelievable to be able to win by 8 lengths, but he's training very well. He's actually going to work tomorrow at 8:45 here on the main track and work next Sunday to run on the 7th.
Johnny had to wait a little while in behind horses here approaching the turn. What did he have to say to you after the race?
He just said he was very impressive. When he asked him, he took off and just kind of dropped down and took off with him. So he's a really neat horse. He's got a great mind, a really talented horse, well bred, and we're very pleased that he's come back so well.
So Vanderbilt, Forgo, is the Breeders' Cup Sprint your, hate to say year-end goal, because there's a little more racing after that, but is that the main goal?
November 5th. It's either 6 furlongs or a mile.
Yeah.
So we'll take it race by race, but the Vanderbilt's next, and we hope he shows up on November 5th in one of those 2 races and something in between.
Well, also in the barn is a nice 3-year-old by the name of Rattlesnake Bridge, who is nominated to both the Jim Dandy and the Haskell. Where's he going?
The Travers. We're going to skip both races again. After last year, we kind of learned that It's hard to run him every 3 weeks. He just won the Long Branch. We're going to train him to the Travers. We know that we feel like he will get the 1.25 miles, and more time is better. So we're going to give him the 7 weeks in between instead of running again.
Wow. Let's take a look at the Long Branch. He is number 3 in here. When I got back home that night and I watched it on the computer, I never thought he was going to get up in this race. He never looked like a winner till the last jump. Talk to our audience about this effort.
Well, he broke well, and Eddie Castro was riding him, and we thought if they went 22 and change, which they did, we would probably be last, and we're beating 1 right now, so we're well back of the field, and they went 22 and change. He's still learning. We feel like he's getting better with each start. Eddie rode a great race. He's moving up inside the horses now in the first turn down the backside in 22 and 3. He was a little closer than I actually thought he would be as fast as they were going up front. I thought he still might be last, but he's moving up the backside into contention. And Eddie Castro knows the track very well.
Yeah.
He was leading rider there last year. So he rode a great race and gave him a chance to win. He was 5 wide turning for home, and I didn't think he got there either. It was hard to tell. He got up the last jump, and we feel like that the 1.25 miles will suit us well. And just back in 22 days, we feel bad to not go back to the Haskell or the Jim Dandy, but he's training here at Saratoga, and we're going to point for the Travers.
He showed ability very early on. He broke his maiden in his debut. Then in his second career start, he ran into Uncle Mo. So early on, he had to be pretty precocious for you.
Yes, we actually gave him time off and brought him back. Another Steve Young purchase at Timonium for Millhouse. And he's by Tappet, and same owner as Trap Shot, and kind of taking the same path. But we hopefully learned from last year. Running back in 3 weeks is a little tough. So he's a really nice horse. We like him, and he just gets up. The only time he was ahead was the last jump.
Am I correct that that was the day you won everything in sight at Monmouth? You won 4?
Yeah, we had 5 in, and we put 2 scratches in, and the steward stuck us in 2 races, and then I talked my way out of one of them. We got to scratch, and we had to run 4, and we won all 4, and I called the stewards to see if we could unscratch the 5th one, but they wouldn't allow that, so we had a great day.
Is he better? Is his action better on a dry track than a wet track?
We've always felt like he's better on a dry track, but he's run very well on a wet track also, so it doesn't really matter. He's just improving all the time.
The 1.25 miles, you feel up his alley, even coming off that fairly extended layoff that he will.
Yes, he's not missed a day since he came back, and he's trained very well, and we feel like the distance will suit him well.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, Karen, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. And we want to give you a little something. For our guests this year, they will be receiving a gift card from Jacob and Anthony's American Grill at 38 High Rock, right in downtown Saratoga Springs. There's a shot of the exterior. You can take your wife for lunch or dinner. You can eat inside or out on the patio. So we just want to give you a little something, a $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's, and enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Very
I
much.
appreciate it. Thank
and
you.
as always,
Thanks.
thank you, Karen
Thank
McLaughlin, ladies and gentlemen. And we are up to our next break on this July 23rd edition of the program. When we return, NYRA President Charlie Hayward. So back with Charlie right after these messages.
You're watching the Off Track Betting Television Network.
What's better than picking the winner? How about owning the winner? With Saratoga's original racing partnership, Harding Glass Racing.